Hi everyone, I am Jason Alcott, author of The Sowing Principle. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad that you are here. You know, there are 1,440 minutes in your 24-hour day. So 1,440 minutes in your 24-hour day. Okay, so let's say that you sleep for 8 hours. I don't sleep for 8 hours. I have 3 kids under the age of 5. I don't know a lot of people that do sleep for 8 hours, but for the purpose of this example, let's imagine that you sleep for 8 hours a day. So now you've got 960 minutes in your day. Let's round it up to 1,000 minutes. What do you focus on in your 1,000 minutes during the day? And I'm not just talking about like what you do during that time. We talk a lot about that in the sowing principle in other videos. You know, how are you spending and investing and sowing your time? But what are you actually focusing on when you're doing something? Because they're distinctly different things, right? Like you can be driving your car and focusing on something else. You can be washing the dishes and focusing on something else. You can be watching a movie and thinking and focusing on something else. So what do you focus on during your day? I was reading this devotional recently on the Bible app, and it had this great line, and it says, what we focus on is what will grow stronger in our lives. And the key word that stuck out to me was that word grow. So it's not that I just like focus and give energy, attention to something, and that's what it is. But the more that I focus on something, the bigger it sort of takes over space in my mind. It actually influences who I am as a person. It influences my mindset, my worldview, how I see the world. Because I'm focusing on it, I give it more strength and power. And then I read through to the end of the devotion, and it said, you know, our situations won't change until our minds do. How many of us are sitting in a situation where we're going, I'm sitting here in this moment, but there's a gap between where I am today and where I believe I should be, could be, where God wants me to be. There's a gap between where I am now, and I'd like my situation to change. You know, in order to change our situation, we have to change our mindset. And out of that mindset flows your life. It's how you make decisions. It's how you see the world. So let's walk through some examples so that you can tie this back into your day-to-day and hopefully be challenged and encouraged to really dial in what it is that you focus on. All right, let's start right away with our relationships. Let's start with your relationship with your significant other or your spouse. And I want to point out here, remember the idea that you can't actually have 2 thoughts at the exact same time. I've talked about this before. You do get the opportunity to choose your thoughts. You don't always get the opportunity to choose your feelings, but you can choose your thoughts. So when you're thinking about your relationship with your spouse or significant other, no one's perfect, right? But if you're focusing on the flaws or the pieces of them that aggravate you or the pieces that, you know, kind of drive you crazy, then that sort of starts to grow in your mind and actually can become really dangerous, because then all of a sudden you can wake up and you feel this sort of resentment towards someone that you actually love and you want to love. But if you actually make the deliberate effort, the actual focused effort to focus on the things that you love, to focus on the things that you're grateful for in your relationships. You know, I think in my own life, I want to focus on the incredible things that my wife does and continues to do in our home and with our children. And I'm not perfect at this. This is, you know, wake up call that I needed, but I need to stay focused on the positive because I want that to grow. I want more of that in my life. I want more of that positive in my family. I want more of a positive marriage relationship so that my kids have that example. If I only focus on the negative, then that will grow, right? But I get to make that choice with my thought process. My feelings might tell me to think about something else, but I get to make that choice of what it is that I focus on. And you get to make that same choice as well, not just in the relationship with your spouse or significant other. You get to make that same choice in all your relationships. Are you going to focus on the positives in your relationships, or are you going to focus on the things that drive you nuts? Because whichever one you focus on will grow. All right, let's switch gears for a second. Can we talk about your local church for a moment? Your home church, where you're going to church right now, if you're going to church. The church has had a rough couple of years, right? The pandemic, they didn't see it coming. All of a sudden, your local church, no one can attend. They're trying to shift to online. If they weren't already doing something like that, that's a major transition. Now they're trying to bring people back. They're trying to keep everybody happy. You know, there was a lot of things. There was probably a lot of mistakes. They probably are kind of fumbling their way through it, trying to figure out, just like the rest of us over the last couple of years. And your church might not look anything like you think that it should. Are you focusing on the negative aspects of what's going on in your church and maybe where they might have fumbled the ball a little bit over the last couple of years? Or are you focusing on the positives, the incredible people that are there, you know, the outreach that they do, or how God wants you to be plugged in and serving in that church? I just think it's worth bringing up because the church is transitioning right now. And if we can continue to focus on more of the positives, the things that are there, I think we can all transition better together. But if we're always going to be tearing it apart and finding all the ways that it's failed, your local church doesn't stand a chance. Nobody's going to rise up and actually meet those expectations that we might have. John Maxwell jokingly says, you know, if you ever find a perfect church, don't go there. You'll be the one to mess it up. I know if I find a perfect church, I don't want to go there. I'll be the one that'll mess it up and make the mistakes. I'm fallen. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about your church, engaging in your community, as they've come through a really rough couple of years. But our mindset, what we focus on in that space in our life matters. So now our focus in our personal life and my own personal thought process does have a significant impact in all areas of my life. not just relationships, not just how I think about church, but it can actually be really important on an organizational or a business level. Like, what are you going to actually focus on as a business or as an organization? Because there's so many things that you can focus on, right? There's so many different factors that create a successful organization, create a successful business. I had a great example of this in the business that I work with a couple of years ago. We recognized the importance of referrals and how they were so important in driving the future of the business, and how it was so much better to be able to work with a customer that already knew us and was referring us to someone else rather than just going to try and acquire new business all the time. So we set an aggressive goal. We wanted to hit X number of referrals over the year, and then we put it out in front of everybody, and we updated it all the time. We had a wall with the number on it, with the goal and where we were at in the progress towards that goal. And I recognized, I was thinking about this, it was like, you know what? That's actually become a part of the culture of the organization, where we're actually very referral focused now, because we had a very specific focus for a period of time that grew inside the organization. And now, even though we don't count our referrals or put that up on the board every single day for everyone to see, we actually are very focused on how do we drive referrals in the organization? How do we make sure that we're taking care of the customer so that they feel confident in referring that business to their neighbors and friends and whatever it is that needs that service? And that's a part of the culture, and that's exciting because it was something that we focused on, and it grew beyond, I think, even what we'd imagined, and it grew into be part of the culture, part of the fabric of the organization. So it doesn't just happen in you and your personal thought life and the outflowing of your mindset in your life. It happens organizationally as well. And I just want to end with this. So Peter Diamandis is a writer, author. He founded the X Prize, which has done a number of amazing things. He's really into space exploration and all kinds of cutting edge things, but he loves to share ideas about how we're progressing forward, the good things that are happening in humanity, how we're making strides forward. He sent out this email and he said that our mindset is one of the most important things that we can focus on because it's within our control. In a couple of videos, we talked about that locus of control. You know, what's within your control and what's outside of your control. Your mindset, what you focus on, your thought process, that's within your control. You don't get to control the stock market. You don't get to control the weather. You don't get to control what people think about you or how they respond to you. But your mindset, what you focus on, is within your locus of control. And I think that that's really important to point out and pay attention to as you're walking through your day. As you're walking through your 1,000 minutes, what are you focusing on? What are you allowing to grow and to sort of expand in your life and actually become a part of who you are, become a part of your identity, how you view the world, and how you're going to step out into it. So I hope you're able to take this and be challenged by it. Look at what it is that you're focusing on in your 1,000 minutes a day. What am I focusing on during that time? Is that to the positive or is it to the negative? Am I allowing something to grow that's going to move me towards the direction that God wants me to grow into, that purpose, that vision, that dream that He's given me? Am I focusing on things that are going to allow that to continue to grow, or am I detracting from it? I hope you have an absolutely awesome rest of your day. I look forward to connecting with you again next week.